Welcome to Redefining Normal. Join us as we question conventional thinking and talk about the courage it takes to create and live a deliciously vibrant life.
This podcast is for people who know there's a better way to do life and love how we show up in connection to others, our kids, our partners, our business, and beyond that, our relationship with money, vitality, and more than anything, ourselves.
We're two shamelessly unapologetic moms choosing to experience the fullness of life.
And we're collapsing the conditioning that says you can't live a life of pleasure, peace, and abundance in the midst of the mundane of life responsibilities, work, and kids.
Are you ready? Let's do this. This week, Jamie and I are going to drop into a conversation around contentment, which doesn't sound very exciting, but I promise you will change your life. And, and what was the other thing we were just saying? What were we just talking about?
The grass being greener.
Oh, the grass being greener. That's right. The grass being greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jamie. How do you want to start this?
Yeah. So this has been playing a lot for me lately. The mind's tendency to play in fantasy and like what if, what could be, which really is not real. It's just ideas. I have an open head and ajna. And so ideas come in and out of me a lot. And I'm starting to recognize how that plays out in my contentness. The thing that highlighted this for me is we recently sold our house. We set a price and we put it on the market. Within 20 hours, we had a full offer sale, quick closing, very few contingencies, everything we wanted. And immediately it was like, oh, should we have priced it higher? Should we have waited? What if a better offer came in? All these imaginary scenarios that do not exist. They're all fantasy. They're all pretend things, started playing. And then a guy like a week later drove by the house and he's like, it's already sold. Oh my gosh, how much I was interested, and I was like, again, could we have made more money? Could we have, it was like, wow, how quickly the mind could pull me out of deep contentment for the universe literally saying yes to everything I asked for. And I couldn't just sit with contentment with that. It was like to just be super grateful to have had every checkbox met, right? And how easily it was to get pulled into this, the grass is greener. Of course it is, in fantasy land that doesn't exist. That's all imaginary. The grass can be greener. But looking at where it pulls us out of deep contentment for what is and our capacity to just be with what is, like what is right in front of us, what is real, and how often we're not responding to that because we're playing in mental, intellectual potential versus probability of the now. Yeah. And then in relationships, we see this all the time. And parenting and business and life in general, right? Like we so quickly want to, play in the idea of what could have been, what could be, versus what is life showing me right now? How do I be content and grateful for all of the gifts in this moment?
It's interesting. Something I really started, to add on to this, something I started thinking about a couple of years ago was around goal setting and putting ourselves out into the future vision, right? And having this goal that in a year's time, I'm going to have this. In 5 years' time, I'm going to have this, And then we put this, it feels like a rubber band tension between where we are now to where that is. And there's a constant need to hold this tension that ultimately creates anxiety in my body. This is what I started to pay attention to. It was like the further out I would want to put a goal and the more that I would attach to or want that or think about that or have to move towards that, the more tension there has been in my body. Now, I say this, you guys, as a person who teaches money manifestation things and wealth clearing and wealth consciousness. Like, of course, we're going to put out into the future what we freaking want, right?
Yes.
So I'm not saying to you not to actually have a goal or a dream or a vision. But what I started to pay attention to was how far, like the space between it how we can play with that. And sometimes it's just like, okay, I'm going to put that out there. For me now, it's like, okay, I know this is what I'm working towards. It's out there somewhere. There's no attachment.
And it brings us back to that attachment as well.
Right?
Like, this is the vision, but I'm not attached to it looking any certain way.
Because it can't. We have no idea.
No.
Like, it could be even so much better, right?
Yeah.
So I go, this or something better, right?
Yes,
so there's this thing that I'm working towards, right? Like, there's this thing that I'm working towards.
Yeah.
And then from that space, like, okay, so what's the action that I need to do now? What is in my present moment here?
Yes.
And then come back to this present space. And as long as we keep ticking into these spaces where we're taking action and being present into this moment, then we don't have to hold that rubber band.
Yeah.
Right? That rubber band tension. And it's so much nicer to our nervous system. And I think it's a really fine line, but I think this is ultimately contentment.
Right.
Right.
Well,
it's
this is, as you're saying this, I'm recognizing the difference between playing in fantasy from a place of lack. Like, what don't I have? What didn't I get? What could I have had more of? Right. It's from this like lack place versus from a place of contentment and expanding into more. Because we are always going to look to the future, and we are creating with our fantasy. Like, we are telling the universe what we want. But if we're holding contentment for what is and acceptance of what is, that pathway is clear versus what could have been.
I don't have it. It's not here.
Yeah.
Then ultimately,
collapse. Yeah.
Because then ultimately we're sending that signal into the world. I don't have it. It's not here yet. And like, you look at your life, and ultimately you probably have so much more than you think. And again, that creates a disconnect because you're telling the universe, I don't even have what I want. It's never going to be enough.
Yeah. Versus I have everything I want, and I welcome more. Always.
And if you even think about this is something really interesting to think about. If you think about this, like where you are sitting in this moment, at some point in time, you probably dreamed of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Maybe 5 years
ago. Not even in your wildest
ago.
dreams. This is beyond what you dreamed.
Right. Right.
Right.
Even if, and I'm going to say, look, even in this part here, I didn't dream to be divorced. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So beyond my dreams, yes.
Way beyond your dreams.
But way better.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm sad that I'm not married. I will always have a grief in my heart that I don't get to have that experience of like life experience, raising our kids together, all these things.
Yeah.
But also my life is so much better this way. And his too, and my kids too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we can't know. And so I think it's a really interesting thing to really just pay attention to that, like really having gratitude for being in I am here where I created, and this dream, because maybe not at the beginning of my marriage, but certainly at the end of my marriage, I dreamed to be here. That's damn sure.
Right.
Right. And now I can sit here in such gratitude that even after heartbreak, I am still so freaking grateful for the love. I'm so grateful for how much that shared with me. I'm so grateful in this moment that, oh my God, look at all these other things that are here to move on from.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we can sit in these moments, truly, you guys, when this shock happened, Jamie was the first person I reached out to. And I think the third sentence that she said to me was, Carrie, what amazing thing is going to come from the shock?
Yeah.
Right. So even in the moment when I was like crushed to the crushedness of crushed, I could sit there and have gratitude.
Yeah. And you can hold both. Like, this is the paradox of being human. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
No.
You can be completely devastated and still recognize something beautiful is seeding here. You know, I think that it really does stem from the internal state of where you're at. Have you ever seen a guy? It's, like a meme or something that I just saw on social media. I've seen it before though. So I'm curious if you've seen it, but a guy talks about, if you're ever sick of your girl and she's frustrated, annoying and whatever, you're frustrated with her, take her picture and make a Tinder profile. And he was like, I put her picture out there and she had, like 300 dudes. Like, what? Wait a second. Now I'm competing with 300 dudes. All these guys would love to be with her. And here I am complaining. And then like it kept updating. And he's like, now she's at like 2,000. Now he's like, oh my gosh, I've got to protect this. I'm going to like make her dinner and massage her feet and, like all of this stuff. So it's like, you have to be grateful for where you're at, not looking for something better. to replace what
Yes.
you already have created, like wanting to not be here to be somewhere else versus being fully here and expanding into whatever comes next. And they are very different frequencies, very different
Very different frequencies. Also, I'm going to say as a side to that piece that Jamie said, you know, like you can be here and move and open to expand. But truly, I'm also going to give permission here that if this is the wrong thing, if something in your life is not, if you're not content, if you're the opposite of content,
if you're being honest with yourself,
and it's not right for you, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't
wait. That's an equally difficult conversation to have, to be super honest with yourself that this familiar, comfortable place is not serving me.
Yes.
To uproot all of that is equally as challenging as being deeply content with where you're at and not trying to be somewhere else.
Right.
This is the paradox of being human, and they're both true and they both exist oftentimes with the same fucking people and the same situations and the same dynamics. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I think the other thing, if we add into here, because you wanted to talk about grass is greener and something we were talking about before we got on the call around grass is greener on the other side, which also comes back to contentment, right? Like that we can be, and we were talking about relationships. And I was actually saying how I was listening to some married people talk about the conversation around finances in relationship. And it was, you know, like there was nothing bad about any of it. It was a very normal conversations that humans have to have when they're in relationships. And I said to Jamie, I haven't had to have that in so long. Like, it's weird to think about having that conversation.
Right.
And I was like, I kind of like the singleness of it. And then I was like, no, I don't actually, because actually I crave having someone to do life with.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's going to mean that financially we're going to be doing things together, which means we need to know about each other's finances, which means we need to have these conversations. Right.
Exactly.
And so it's really interesting because like we can sit here and I hear this all the time with couples, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good to be single. Look at you. You have so much freedom. I'm like, oh my God, do you know how nice it is that you get to go home at the end of the day and talk to your partner?
The grass is always greener. The thing that you don't have to functionally deal with always looks more attractive. But every reality has its challenges and its blessings. And when you can consider all of it as the whole and not, I'm tired of the challenges without remembering the beauty in those same challenges, you know, like they are two sides of the same coin, essentially.
I think the importance of this, because, you know, I think it's a really important thing for people to actually get, for the reason of that when you can come into the space of contentment, again, you know, throughout all of these conversations we're having, we're talking about vibration, right? And actually being able to, as Jamie said, open to that which we want to receive, which is very different than being needy and clingy. If you go to our last conversation on attachment, right? Having needy clinginess that needs to be like, I need to have it this way, da, 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 right? And then from that space, when we're content, like our energetic field, which is why I was having that conversation with Jamie before, because I know my energy right now is feeling, a lot in my body. Right. And so this has been my journey to actually calm this down, because I know that when I do, because I am far more comfortable in my own body, but it also means that my frequency to that which I desire is far more aligned. And it's really important to have this awareness, because when we up level, when we shift through different paradigms and different dynamics, when we have these shocks, when we have these conversations with our partners, when these things and we get dysregulated, oftentimes there's something that can be gained out of it. Oftentimes it's because we've opened something that we didn't know existed, or we've had a trigger come up, or that we've had something that we've had to touch that we didn't touch before. And if we ignore it, then it only we end up in probably resentment, anger, bitterness, blah, 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 which are low vibration energies, anxiety, all these different things, which are low vibration energies. And, anxiety isn't a low vibration. It is a vibration. And it will take you further from what you desire.
Yep. And think about how this ripples into your life. I mean, we are energetic beings. We are frequency. And so if I'm operating in frustration or anger or, you know, whatever the not self is, and that's going to impact all of the people around me in the way that they're relating to me as well. So it just continues to create resonance with the thing that I'm feeling, versus when I take responsibility for my satisfaction for your peace, for projector success. It's like when we take responsibility for that vibration within ourselves, it ripples into the world in service to the people closest to us, and even, an extension of us beyond whoever's closest to us. Like I just shared on Facebook today, actually, I had no idea that following my satisfaction and that sacral sell the house and move out to the country, and ignoring the mind's like, but what about, wait a second, and figuring out all the details. It was like, none of that matters. Do this thing right now. That it would lead to Rumi finding her satisfaction here. Like it wasn't, that wasn't a part of the equation initially, but because I followed my satisfaction, it led to more of that in the people around me. So we ended up moving into a valley, which is Rumi's environment and human design. And to watch a different child operate, like clarity and curiosity and excitement about things in a short amount of time, it's like, holy shit. Like I had no idea. It was so kind of baseline normal that I didn't even know that it wasn't healthy till we got out here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what this is where she should be operating. And that happened because I was focused on my satisfaction and following my sacral response. And so it's like this recognition that we are responsible for our alignment and trusting that it's gonna create beautiful ripples in the world and the people around us. And that doesn't happen when we're wishing we were somewhere else. Right?
I think on top of that, I'd like to add as well that one of the things that I feel that's important in this as well is that if we don't come to contentness in ourselves and where we are in our lives, we're actually telling the universe that it's not enough and that we're not enough, and that it doesn't matter what you give me, it's never enough.
Yeah.
So it will stop giving to you.
Yeah. Because even when you said, if this isn't an alignment for you, make a change, but you can't even become clear on that if you're always wishing it was something else. In order to get the clarity of what is right for me, you have to be in acceptance of what isn't, of where you're at now, like a surrender to the what is, in order to know what would be better. But if you're always like, I'm just going to avoid this and I'm going to hope and wish for something different, you're not creating an opening for real change to get you to the right place. Because even if you leave this and go to something else, you're still avoiding what is. And so you're going to end up in another situation that just reflects the same dynamic.
Yeah. And you're actually avoiding yourself, right? If you can't find the contentment in yourself or get rid of the things that are not serving you, then you're avoiding something in yourself and running from a pattern in yourself that is keeping you trapped on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. It's just not.
And if you want to get off that, that's what Jamie and I do, by the way.
Yeah.
Get off that damn hamster wheel. You want to talk about money stuff? Talk to me. You want to talk about parenting stuff? Talk to Jamie. And it's like, the work that we do in our groups and with our own one-on-one work with people. This is ultimately how we help people, is to come into themselves and see their patterns and be able to make changes so that they can be content. And
all relationships start here. All relationships start with your relationship to self, whether it's money or a partner or kids or whatever. The change, it has to happen in you. You can't change all the other things without starting right here at home. So
I always think it's fascinating when I watch clients, and I often say to people, you don't have to make massive changes in your life to actually change your state, right? No. And a lot of people might come feeling really unhappy about something, but it's like, you can still be in the same exact position of your life. Like, have the same job, the same parents, the same husband or wife or kids or whatever, friends, circle, all that stuff can stay the same. And it's amazing how much it will change when you actually change your inner dialogue with yourself and you come to this contentment, when you can come to this place of truly finding peace in life.
Yeah. It's like when you take charge of the narrative, because the mind will run some bullshit stories.
Fuck yeah.
But if you begin to be in charge of the narrative, the inner narrative, all the external stuff can be exactly the same, but the story internally flips and it's a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm. And it might mean people do leave your life. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay.
It's like Yeah.
It feels I mean, I'm like I said, I'm going through it. It feels heart-wrenching at the time, but also it's okay. Like this or
Mm-hmm.
something better. This or something better.
Mm-hmm.
This or something
Always.
better.
This or something better.
This or something better. I think that's a perfect way to end this one.
Love you.
Love you.
If you enjoyed this show, let us know. We're all about authentic connection, so come chat with us on social media or email. Links are listed in the show notes.
And please make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and share the magic on your socials.
If you enjoyed this show, let us know. We're all about authentic connection, so come chat with us on social media or email. Links are listed in the show notes.
And please make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and share the magic on your socials.